The London Irish Rifles was a volunteer rifle regiment of the British Army with a distinguished history, and now forms D Company of the London Regiment and is part of the Army Reserve. They are based at Connaught House, Flodden Road in Camberwell. Victorian Era. The London Irish Rifles was originally formed in 1859 during the Victorian volunteer movement and named 28th Middlesex Rifle Volunteer Corps. During the Second Boer War, the battalion sent 8 officers and 200 private soldiers for active service. One officer won the Distinguished Service Order and another member gained 7 bars to his South Africa Medal. In recognition of the service, the London Irish was granted the first battle honour, South Africa, 1900 to 1902. In 1908, the London Irish was transferred to the Territorial Force and renamed the 18th Battalion, the London Regiment. First World War. During the First World War, the LIR raised 3 battalions, one of which stayed in reserve in England. The 1st Battalion was sent to France in 1915 and saw its first action at Festubert in May, before taking part in many of the major battles on the Western Front during the next 3 years. The 2nd Battalion served in France, Greece and Palestine. At the Battle of Loos, the 1st Battalion LIR particularly distinguished itself, while storming across no man's land to capture the enemy trenches. Rifleman Frank Edwards, the captain of the football team, kicked a football along in front of the troops. This earned the LIR probably the most famous battle honour, Loos, 1915. The Loos football is still preserved in the Regimental Museum, and to this day, the memory of Rifleman Edwards and his comrades is commemorated every year at Connaught House on Loos Sunday. Over 1,000 London Irishmen were killed during the conflict. The following battle honours were gained by the 2 battalions of the London Irish Rifles during the First World War: Festubert 1915, Loos 1915, Somme 1916-18, Flers Corslet, Morville, Le Transloy Messines 1917, Ypres 1917, Longyearbyen 1917, Cambrai 1917, St. Quentin, Bapaume 1918, Ancre 1918, Albert 1918, Passy-sur-Mons, France and Flanders 1915-18, Douiran 1917, Macedonia 1916-17, Gaza, El Moghab, Nebi Samuel, Jerusalem, Jericho, Jordan, Palestine 1917-18. The following honours and awards were won by men of the London Irish Rifles during 1914-18: DSO-7, MC-33, DCM-20, MM-101. Interwar. After the cessation of hostilities, the LIR was reduced to cadre strength, before being disbanded in May 1919 at Felixstowe. In February 1920, the 18th Battalion of the London Regiment was reconstituted as a component of the 47th Infantry Division of the new Territorial Army, and in 1923, the designation of the regiment was shortened to 18th London Regiment. During these years, ties between the London Irish Rifles and the Royal Ulster Rifles, which before 1921 was known as the Royal Irish Rifles, were greatly strengthened, and the London Irish became part of the corps of the Royal Ulster Rifles in 1929. In 1937, when the London Regiment was disbanded, the LIR became known as London Irish Rifles, the Royal Ulster Rifles. After the 47th Division was also disbanded, the London Irish transferred to the 169th Infantry Brigade, part of 56th Infantry Division. Permanent staff were all seconded or attached from the RUR, but up to 1937, the regiment regimental sergeant major was normally found by the Irish Guards. The London Irish was one of the first territorial units to start mechanisation by drawing up two combat trucks. The regiment's pipe, a green headdress, the carbine, which was worn by all Irish regiments, and was characterised by being sloped to the left instead of the right, only the LIR and Liverpool Irish having theirs sloping on the left, was adopted for wear by all ranks in 1937 in place of the service dress cap. Second World War. In April 1939, the establishment of the Territorial Army was doubled in size and the 2nd Battalion, London Irish Rifles, was reformed, initially as a component unit of the 4th London Infantry Brigade 2nd London Infantry Division, which was a second-line duplicate of the 1st line 1st London Infantry Division. The 70th Battalion, a young soldiers' company of the London Irish Rifles, was also formed early in 1940, and set up for men volunteering who were between the ages of 18 and 19 and a half. The objective was to train them to the highest standard of drill, skill at arms, discipline and turnout in preparation for the time when they would be fit to take the place within the 1st and 2nd Battalions. The 70th Battalion ceased to exist in January 1943, when all such units were disbanded. A company of the 1st Battalion was involved in the Battle of Graveney Marsh. In September 1940, the last ground combat between a foreign invading force and British troops that happened on British mainland soil. The 1st Battalion, London Irish Rifles, left England in August 1942 to serve in Iraq and Italy, and the 2nd Battalion sailed to North Africa with the 38th Infantry Brigade in November 1942 before taking part in the Tunisian and Italian campaigns. The 1st Battalion formed part of the 168th Infantry Brigade, primarily within the 56th Infantry Division, taking part in major actions in Italy at Fosso Botticeto south of Catania, Monte Camino, Monte Damiano, the Garigliano crossing and Aprilia, and at the Gothic Line, and as part of 167th Infantry Brigade taking a leading role in the final Allied offensive in northern Italy during April 1945. In the month that they spent fighting in the Anzio beachhead, the 1st Battalion's casualties totaled 32 officers and 550 other ranks killed, wounded and missing. When embarking for rest at Pozzuoli near Naples, the battalion numbered just 12 officers and 300 other ranks, some of which had returned from hospital to rejoin the battalion. During the action at Anzio, the following awards were issued: Barter Military Cross, Major W. E. Brooks Military Cross, Captain Ames, Captain D. A. Hardy, Captain G. R. H. Mullins, Captain R. M. Hay, Lieutenant L. Rue. Distinguished Conduct Medal, Company Sergeant Major F. Kelly, Sergeant H. F. Guy. Military Medal, Sergeant A. Marson, Corporal C. Wilson, Corporal C. Hill. The 2nd Battalion formed part of the 38th Brigade, initially as part of 6th Armoured Division and later within the 78th Battaliax Division, a division with an excellent reputation, and was in frontline service from November 1942 to May 1945 throughout Tunisia and Italy, including taking part in major actions at Boerada, Hydas, Santuripa, Termoli, Sangro River, the Liri Valley, Trasimeno, Monte Spaduro and at the Arganda Gap. The battalion garrisoned parts of Austria in the immediate post-war period. Over 600 London Irishmen were killed during the conflict. The following battle honours were gained by the two battalions of the London Irish Rifles during the Second World War: Boerada, El Hajiba, Stuka Farm, Hydas, North Africa, 1942-43, Lentini, Simeto Bridgehead, Adrano, Centuripa, Salso Crossing, Simeto Crossing, Malato, Pursuit to Messina, Sicily, 1943, Termoli, Trinia, Sangro, Fossa Sesia, Tiano, Monte Camino, Calabrito, Garigliano Crossing, Damiano, Anzio, Caraceto, Casino 2, Casa Synagogue Oblieri Valley, Trasimene Line, San Fetaccio, Correa Number, Croce, Senio Floodbank, Rimini Line, Siriano Ridge, Monte Spaduro, Monte Grande, Valle di Comacchio, Argenta Gap, Italy, 1943–45. The following honours and awards were won by men of the London Irish Rifles during 1939–45: DSO-6, MC-46, DCM-12, MM-55, American Silver Star II, American Bronze Star II, mentioned in dispatches 103, GM-2, M2, MBE-2. Post-war. After the war, the battalion reformed as a battalion of the Royal Ulster Rifles. In 1967, with the disbanding of the London Regiment, the three Irish regular infantry regiments combined to form the Royal Irish Rangers, and the LIR became D Company, 4th Battalion, the Royal Irish Rangers, remaining so until the reformation of the London Regiment in 1993. The Royal Irish Rangers later amalgamated with the Ulster Defence Regiment to form the Royal Irish Regiment, with the Northern Irish Territorial Army Company remaining as Rangers. The LIR moved from the historic home, Duke of York's Barracks, Chelsea, to Flodden Road, Camberwell in 2000. In 2007 they opened a detachment for 13 platoon at the Tar Centre on Hammersmith Road in Hammersmith, but that venture proved unsuccessful and the Irish withdrew again in 2008. On the 9th of June 2012, during the Diamond Jubilee Freedom Parade held by the Royal Borough of Kensington and AMP, Chelsea for units holding freedom of the borough, the London Irish formally co-located with B Detachment of 256 Field Hospital at the Tar Centre at 1A Ivanhoe Gardens, Kensington. This marked a return to the borough for the London Irish Rifle, 14 years after leaving the Duke of York's HQ in Chelsea and the intention to recruit locally to build up a platoon in the first instance. It is anticipated that there will be synergies to be exploited by having infantry in the various field hospital cap badges occasionally doing joint training on training nights. Today, since 1993 and the incorporation of the London Irish Rifles as a company of the London Regiment, soldiers from the London Irish Rifles have served in Bosnia, Kosovo, Iraq, Afghanistan and Cyprus. During Operation Teluk, the company contributed to the formation of Cambrai Company and Messina Company, both of which were commanded by officers of the London Irish Rifles. Soldiers from the company also deployed to Afghanistan with Somme Company in 2007, Amiens Company in 2010 and Arras Company in 2011. On the 4th of October 2008, the LIR were given the freedom of the Royal Borough of Kensington and Chelsea in a ceremony at the Town Hall, Kensington. This followed a march with bayonets fixed and review along Kensington High Street. The London Irish Rifles train on Tuesday evenings at the Army Reserve Centre on Flodden Road in Camberwell, London SE59LL. Dress. Their distinctive piper green head dress is called a corbeen. The corbeen was first worn by the pipers of the Irish Guards. However, the London Irish Rifles were the first unit to adopt for wear by all soldiers. It was subsequently adopted for wear by all Irish infantry regiments, with the exception of the Irish Guards. In contrast to the rest of the British Army, the London Irish Rifles have the distinction of wearing the cap badge over the right eye and the corbeen is pulled over the left here. The London Irish Rifles are also issued with a rifle green beret for use on exercise and/or on operations. The beret was approved for wear by the Army Dress Committee in 2001 and was first worn on operations in 2004. Bibliography. Ford, Ken. Battle Axe Division. Stroud, UK. Sutton Publishing. p. 273 pages. ISBN 0-7509-3199-X. Doherty, Richard. Clear the Way. History of the 38th Brigade. Dublin, Ireland. Irish Academic Press. p. 336 pages. ISBN 0-71652542-9. All My Brothers by Edmund O'Sullivan, contains an eyewitness account of serving in the 2nd Battalion of the London Irish Rifles from October 1939 until March 1946. The official history of the 1st and 2nd Battalions of the London Irish Rifles in the Second World War.